So we're going to get started. I'm Kellie from the Kellie Kitchen, and thank you so much for joining me. I know you have lots of information coming at you, and but now we're going to talk about all the good stuff, food. Let me start by saying I feel so honored that you're sitting here with me right now when they're serving free wine and treats over there. And in my, oh, there you go. And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, this better be good. So I know it can be a little overwhelming to hear all of the medical jargon and biology. In theory, everything you hear about the low-carb lifestyle and a ketogenic diet and fasting makes sense, but when the rubber meets the road and it's time to eat, people panic. You're here today meeting with me because I'm going to help you through that. Think of a time when you're standing in front of the kitchen cabinets, or maybe when your tummy was grumbling at your office desk, and you've got some decisions to make. How about giving this question? Mom, what's for dinner? Honey, what are we having for dinner? I'm here to help you answer that question and not panic. My goal for today is to help you rethink how easy low carbohydrate meals for you, your family, and maybe your patients can be. I'm going to give you some easy steps in the kitchen and in your low carb lifestyle. I hope to inspire you to have fun in the kitchen and to create delicious low carb foods for you and for your family. My name is Kellie Logston. I grew up in the quintessential Southern California setting. I was born and raised and still live in Santa Monica, California. I spent most of my childhood going to the beach, skateboarding with the neighborhood gang, and playing volleyball. A little side note, I played Division I collegiate volleyball for the University of San Diego. Oh. Go Toreros! I'm happy to be back. I need to come back more often. This is such a beautiful city. I'm a mom of two amazing daughters, aged 17 and 20. I have a certification in holistic health and nutrition counseling from the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. I'm a self-taught cook, and I derive most of my low-carb inspiration from many of the speakers that you're meeting here this weekend. I am the founder and creator of thekelliekitchen.com, where I develop and share low-carb, high-fat recipes. I also share my story through a roller coaster of dieting, illness, and then back to health. You can find many of the recipes that I'm going to talk about tonight on my website, along with a lot of the resources that I'll talk about. I do derive a small advertising fee, but there's no cost to anybody that visits the site. So as I mentioned, I grew up in Southern California during the diet and fitness industry boom. All through the 70s and 80s, during the age of fad diets, tab soda, and Jane Fonda workouts, I think everyone was on a quest to be super healthy. It was 1977, and the US government had released their recommended dietary guidelines. I was 7 years old. We were urged to cut the fat and up the whole grains. This is nothing new for us. Our family, being healthy and educated and forward-thinking, cut all the fat from our house. We went right for the broiled skinless chicken, plain rice cakes, and fat-free everything. If it had fat in it, it was considered enemy number one. My family took health and sport very seriously. I played competitive volleyball and paddle tennis from the age of 9. The message I received was that your health was how fit you were and how thin you were. My vision of a healthy woman was that to be one of the Charlie's Angels. Those women were effortlessly thin, beautiful, and very active, and I wanted to be one of them. Who remembers Susan Powder? Yeah. The early 90s were the age of Susan Powder and her mantra, "Stop the insanity." She clearly was not the voice of reason. We heard over and over that if we ate fat, we would get fat. Unfortunately, I was always hungry and fat. Soon we were well into the early 2000s, and I had been on more diets than I care to remember. At one point, I even asked my gynecologist for help losing weight. He was quick to prescribe a diet pill. It made me lightheaded, irritable, and sick. But I lost 30 pounds. Why was I taking health advice from these people? I was trying to get healthy, but I was anything but healthy. I was on a mission though, and I was gonna figure this thing out. I was gonna follow the doctor's orders and all the medical dogma of calories in versus calories out. They said, eat less and exercise more. So I weighed and measured everything that I ate. I hit the gym aggressively, and everything I ate was fat-free and flavorless. I tried Nutrisystem, Jenny Craig, Weight Watchers, Slim Fast, etc., etc. Anything to control my calorie intake. Snackwell's fat-free Devil's Food cookies and 99% fat-free turkey were staples in my freezer. I loved watching season after season of The Biggest Loser. It was so aggressive and such a transformation, and those angry and aggressive trainers were totally over the top. But I just knew that that was never gonna work for me. 3 decades later, I ranged in weight from 125 pounds to 204 pounds, trying to follow the US government health guidelines. But I wasn't getting healthy, and I was really confused. So I decided to go learn for myself how to lose weight, and I went to nutrition school. During that time, earning my certification in holistic health and nutrition, I tried everything again, from being vegan, no stone fruit, no nightshades, gluten-free, checking my alkaline levels, meditation, sleep therapy, writing workshops, Bikram yoga, half marathons. But it was all still a roller coaster. And then I got sick. I had my first bout of diverticulitis in my mid-30s. For those of you that don't know what that is, it's a really awful infection in your gut. For the next decade, I had 7 more bouts of diverticulitis. My stomach hurt all the time. I had a very unhappy colon, so they took it out. Okay, they didn't take it all out, but any amount of your insides taken out seems like a lot, and it ended up being about a foot. For 4 months after my surgery, I suffered various mystery ailments in and out of the hospital. I ultimately contracted C. diff, another disgusting infection, and after being given 10 or so rounds of antibiotics and subsisting on gallons of rainbow jello, I may have been C. diff free, but I was still suffering from chronic urinary tract infections and yeast infections. I do have to give my doctors credit. They were really trying to help me, but never once was it suggested that I change my diet. So, no one could tell me what to eat, but then I stumbled across someone who told me to eat nothing. Dr. Jason Fung came into my life by way of his book, The Obesity Code, in January of 2017. Who in here has read Dr.? Oh yeah. There we go. I knew it sounded absolutely bonkers to skip any meals, but I was desperate, so I tried it. Everything I had ever heard about healthy food was turned on its head. Just because a box of Honey Nut Cheerios was stamped with the approval of the American Heart Association did not mean it was healthy. All the manufactured and processed foods, along with my healthy fruit and healthy oatmeal and fat-free yogurt, they were causing all the problem. I started by skipping breakfast, and it wasn't so hard. I would eat a very hearty dinner, so I wasn't really hungry the next morning. Once I got over the idea that I did not need to eat all day long, I started to focus on what I could eat. I knew that yeast and gut issues were exacerbated by sugar consumption, so I started learning about cutting out all the sugar. Next, the meal planning and cooking came in earnest for me. Low carb and intermittent fasting was my e-ticket to health. This way of eating became my life and my savior. My first real experience with cooking came as a newlywed in the late 90s. I had a really tiny kitchen, one skillet, and a box of meat helper. Anyone else rely on hamburger helper to get dinner on the table? I had 2 small children and a husband that needed to be fed several times a day. I took many cooking classes, watched the Food Network ad nauseum, and I practiced. There were many garbage can worthy meals during that time that were served at my table. If you don't believe me, ask my children and my ex-husband, they can vouch for me. But I had to start somewhere. And as you guys embark on your low carb cooking journey, it will not be perfect every time. Start simple. No one is expecting Martha Stewart to show up in your kitchen, and Gordon Ramsay certainly is not going to show up and start judging you. Do you want to know the number one thing that people ask me when they embark on a low carb lifestyle? Can I drink alcohol? Just kidding. Yeah. The number one thing that comes out of people's mouth when they start this journey is, what can I eat? People panic. People get bored with eating the same things every day, and people love their bread, pasta, pizza, cakes, and cookies. Oh my God, I can never have bread again? What do you mean I can't eat fruit? I'm going on vacation, I have to eat what they serve me. I'm telling you right now, don't panic. No one ever said you can never have those carby things again. Of course, you shouldn't. But the thought of never having a slice of birthday cake ever again makes me want to eat the whole cake. I ask you to consider this. Just for one day, can I eat this low carb way just for today? What meals can you plan just for today that do not involve bread, pasta, cookies, cakes, and sugary drinks? The low carb options are limitless. This is a lifestyle. You switch your habits so that your low carb food choices are automatic. Just as if someone were to serve you a plate of poison. What would your automatic reaction be? If someone served you a plate of poison, you would look at them as though they were crazy. You don't eat poison, you send it back. Instead of panic, think of all the wonderful, fat-filled things you can have, like steak, or butter, or cheese, vegetables, dark meat, ribs, mayonnaise, nuts, nut butters, bacon, all the things that you were never allowed to have, now you can have them all. You're welcome. Seems like such witchcraft, doesn't it? Eating all of those great, flavorful, fat-filled foods. To be able to eat those delicious foods and still be healthy, I call it magic. So, we're going to rethink your priorities. One of the main parts of having great health is to get very clear on what's important to you. When you have crystal clear goals, your decision-making process is seamless. You see, there are only so many minutes in each day to spend on making these decisions. You have limited brain power and time to spend on all the decisions you have to make throughout the day. Steve Jobs famously wore the same thing every single day. I think Mark Zuckerberg does that too. They reduce their decisions so they reduce the decisions they make throughout the day so they can free up their brain power for more important new things. Get clear on your priorities and where you choose to spend your brain power. If health is your priority, you will make time for it. And cooking at home for yourself and for your family is one of the greatest gifts you can give to your health. No time for cooking, you say? It takes the same or less time, and definitely for me, less money to cook at home than it does to eat out. Who here spends every day going to the gym, or goes to the gym or works out every day? Here you go. Might I suggest pulling the crock pot or the Instant Pot out? If you spend precious times traveling to and from the gym or on the treadmill, then you need to get your kitchen gadgets at home working for you. My idea of a workout is putting my dinner in the oven and going for a brisk walk with my boyfriend or my kids. If it's cold outside, believe it or not, I have a dance party in my kitchen. All I'm saying is that when you prioritize planning and cooking your health, for your health, you may actually have more time in the day and less decisions to make. So I'm not a calculator. I know there's a lot of talk about macros and figuring out how much protein, how much fat. I've never been a stickler for exact numbers, except when it comes to baking. And if I had to be perfectly exact on what I ate throughout the day, I would tailspin. It's absolutely exhausting to me to think about how to cut, count, or track anything. And if you're a former Weight Watcher, just like I was, that didn't last long for me. Some people feel safe following exact numbers, not me. My experience has been that when I get in tune with my hunger and I eat the right foods that are satiating and satisfying, I can pretty much regulate my food intake. When I have a general idea of portion and macronutrients, I am all good. With that said, it is very important to focus on a few things about like being aware of how many carbs you're taking in and hitting your protein goals. It's also important to keep your fat intake on the high side. Quality fat intake is key, but that does not mean fat bombs are totally necessary. If you have fat to lose on your body, but you're eating fat bombs all day, then you don't give your body a chance to actually lose the fat stores. Adequate hydration is another element of our overall health that gets repeated over and over. Drink your body weight in ounces. If I had to drink gallons and gallons of water every day, I'd spend most of my time in the bathroom. So if I'm drinking water throughout the day, I don't count it, but I'm all good with that. Let's talk about setting up your kitchen. This may be more of a question for the ladies in the room, but do you ever look in your closet and with a full closet of clothes and think, I have nothing to wear? When there's clutter and junk in your fridge, then nothing seems appealing. That same thing goes for your kitchen pantry and your freezer. The first thing is to clean out the kitchen so we know what we're dealing with. Women, treat your fridge as though you were lining up expensive shoes. Do you like that refrigerator? That's my refrigerator. That's mine. My closets don't look like that, but my fridge does. I know, right? I know the heavy cream.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what that was.
Heavy cream. There you go. So line up your food like it were expensive shoes, and then act like they're vintage cars lining up in a garage. This is precious real estate we are talking about. Quality food is special, it can be expensive, and let's treat it that way. You don't need to have all the fancy gadgets and kitchen appliances. Remember, I started in a tiny kitchen. Actually, I still have a very simple kitchen. I just happen to have a better view of the ocean. You don't need marble countertops or a Viking range. You can cook just as well in a simple kitchen as you can in a $1 million kitchen. With that said, I highly recommend a quality chef's knife, a nice sized skillet, and an Instant Pot. As long as I have those 3 items, I can pretty much whip up any sort of magic in the kitchen. Stock your spice rack and your pantry with essentials. You may not use thyme or almond flour or coconut flour all the time, but they have somewhat of a shelf-stable life. Stock your freezer with meat. Again, you can buy it in bulk at cost. I use ButcherBox, it's a subscription service, and it gets delivered right to my door. Produce, dairy, and eggs are on constant rotation in my refrigerator, and I shop for those about every 2 weeks, depending on who's at home and what the schedules are. When you create a place for everything and you put everything in its place, you save precious minutes and brain power on the whole process. So whether you're a beginner in the kitchen, someone that eats out every single meal, or you're a 3-star Michelin chef, I find the most success in maintaining a low-carb lifestyle in the beginning comes from food choices that are basic. Pick a protein, pick a fat, pick a green vegetable. Steak, broccoli, butter, and salt. Bam, there's a meal. Scrambled eggs, cheese, avocado, and salt. Bam, there's a meal. salad, chicken, cheese, a little bit of olive oil, and some salt. There's a meal. Those are so simple and easy. There is no shame in eating the same thing over and over again. One of the food items that's in my meal plan every week is my basic chicken salad. I make a rotisserie chicken in my Instant Pot every week for my basic chicken salad, and there's no judgment here. You do not have to make your own rotisserie chicken. Get it from the supermarket, get it from Costco. Just move in that direction, and there's never gonna be judgment for me on that. Add some mayonnaise, some celery, some onions, some pepper, easy peasy. Eat it as a scoop alone, over a bed of greens for a very powerful salad with some avocado, or make it into a wrap with some lettuce leaves. Soups and chilies were and still are a game changer for me. Double or triple the batch and freeze some for later. Pull that out of the freezer and bam, you've got a meal in 30 minutes or less. Planning ahead is one of the biggest secrets for me. I have a few different levels of planning that take place in our house with our meals. If you follow me on Instagram at The Kellie Kitchen, then it may seem like I'm always in the kitchen. Believe it or not, I actually don't cook every day. I have a full-time corporate job. I work 40 hours a week. My commute is sometimes almost an hour each way. I have 2 children, an adorable boyfriend, a family, friends, 2 cats, a home, and they all require my time. I also developed the Kellie Kitchen website in my free time. I learned how to put the website together. I take all the pictures, I develop all the recipes. If I have time, then anybody can do it. I love to cook, but I have so many obligations and I don't have the time all the time, so I plan. Planning does not have to be an elaborate spreadsheet or another thing that you have to create. You can use Post-it notes if you have to. This is what my planning looks like, and on a macro level, I ask myself, what do I feel like eating this week? Or what's in season? And I run in my head, Mexican, Thai, Chinese, barbecue, American, Italian. What do I feel like eating this week? Then I shop my fridge and my freezer and my pantry. And I see what things, sorry, I should have gone back to that other refrigerator slide, but I shop my fridge and I see what I have there and what I can make that fits into that genre of cooking that I have and that I need to use. Ask your family what they feel like eating and assess everyone's schedule. There is no need to create a bunch of meals if no one is around to eat them, unless you can freeze them. And if you can freeze them and then you have a general idea for the week or month of what you feel like eating or what you might need. Okay, so staples and rotating. Then you find your staples. What are your go-tos? What are the things that you can make in your sleep that everyone at the dinner table likes? Find those low-carb meals and make them over and over. Make double and freeze them for later. In my house, on constant rotation are soups, salads, casseroles, and taco night. I'll get to taco night in a minute. When you have the time or you're bored with the same old stuff, then you can venture out and feel more adventurous and try something new. One of the reasons that I have had success is that I'm constantly expanding my options. If I see something on Pinterest or Instagram, I think to myself, how can I make that low carb? That's made with fathead dough. And that's made with zucchini and cheddar cheese. You can experiment and expand into a new recipe or an ethnic food that totally takes you out of the box. If that experiment is a winner, then it gets added to the rotation. I must interject here that my health is my responsibility. The only time that anyone else's health is your responsibility is when you have minor children. Then they eat what you feed them. If health is important to everyone in your family, then everyone needs to get on board with the process. It's a team effort, and not everyone has to cook, but there are many jobs to be had. As it happens, I love to plan it and cook it, but I loathe emptying the dishwasher. Who plans the meals, who shops for the meals, who cooks the meals, who pays for the meals, who lugs them all home, who packs the leftovers, who cleans up all the dirty dishes, and who empties the dishwasher? Well, we know it's not me on the dishwasher. When everyone has skin in the game, then they're invested, and it's a team effort. I know it sounds harsh, but if they're not on the team, then they can fend for themselves. You need to take care of yourself. Seriously, if they're not on the team, they need to get their own food and clean it up for themselves. That includes if they don't like what you are serving. That's to them. Short order cooks are not allowed. Lastly, when the kitchen is closed, that means it's closed. If we eat a lovely low-carb, fat-filled meal, then you should feel satiated. There's no need to head back to the kitchen and search the pantry for a snack. Because I intermittent fast almost every day, I don't break my fast or I don't have my first meal until around noon, but there are many options for breakfast if that's your thing. There are egg recipes galore, but my absolute favorite I learned from a porn star. Don't worry, I'm keeping this PG, but it's called the bomblet. 2 ounces of cheese in a skillet. You get that to have a nice crispy shell. You crack 2 eggs right on top of that. You cover it with a skillet until you steam the eggs. You flip it over and you've got a bomblet. I serve that on a bed of greens with some avocado and salt. Yum. Make ahead low-carb muffins, quiche, and waffles can be stored in the freezer, and they're great for grab-and-go meals. Did you know that you can make scrambled eggs in the microwave? Crack 2 eggs into a microwave-safe cup, sprinkle with a little bit of cheese, give it a little fork scramble, and then pop it in there for 30 seconds. And do that a couple of times, bam, you've got scrambled eggs in a cup. It takes less than 3 minutes. Black coffee is always my go-to. I have a little addiction, and I'm gonna just admit that right now. But black coffee with heavy cream is also a great option for breakfast if that's easy and then on the go. When you get sick of eggs, try Greek yogurt with some berry as a parfait, or maybe try a nut milkshake, or leftovers. Whoever said you can't have cheeseburger casserole for breakfast? The weekends are my time for batch cooking. I sometimes have the oven, the slow cooker, the Instant Pot, all going at the same time. Depending on what's in the meal plan for the week and what's in season, I can be steaming a dozen eggs in my Instant Pot, making 2 pounds of bacon in my oven, and chopping various vegetables, and have that all done in less than an hour. I'm going to show this picture again because I love my Instant Pot. But I use my Instant Pot to make a rotisserie chicken, and I use it every week to make my basic chicken salad. I don't always use it for chicken salad because I will pull that chicken apart and I can freeze it for later. I can use it for soups and casseroles, and I also use it for my chicken enchiladas, which are in my low-carb tortillas, which I'll talk about in a minute. Even though I love to cook and to bake, I don't cook every day because I batch cook. When you cook once for several meals, then it's almost like having a restaurant menu in your own refrigerator. Pickle rolls are one of the easiest and greatest lunch options. Lay out your deli meat, pat it dry, smear some whipped cream cheese on there, layer it with some pickle spears and anything else you want on there. Roll that up like some sushi, you slice it, ta-da, pickle rolls. You can use any kind of deli meat, any kind of cheese, and any kind of vegetables that you like. Who doesn't love taco night? The variations are actually endless. Don't limit yourself to Mexican seasoned tacos. What about Asian lettuce wraps? What about Thai peanut bacon wraps? We have taco night at my house once a week, but it's never the same. It's chicken or ground beef or shredded pork. Switch up the cheeses and switch up the sauces too. I mentioned this before. One of my #1 recipes on my website, believe it or not, is for my keto tortillas. Whoops, there's my tacos. There's my keto tortillas. Those tortillas have gotten over 150,000 page views in the last 4 months.
Wow.
They're so simple to make. Egg whites and coconut flour. They don't taste like coconut and they don't taste like egg. It basically is just a little bit of technique. I do have a video on YouTube, and you do need to spend some time in front of the stove. I usually have 4 pans going at once, so the whole process takes me less than an hour. They're about 1 gram net carb per tortilla, and I use them for tacos, enchiladas, and quesadillas. Not everyone has the time to make these or wants to spend the time doing that. There are low-carb options in the supermarket. They are easy and everybody loves them. That would not be my first choice, but you'll get no judgment from me. If using these low-carb commercially made tortillas is going to bridge that gap for you to go to a low-carb life, then I say go for it. Now let's talk about dessert. Necessary versus unnecessary. It could be argued both ways, especially in a low-carb lifestyle. I'm constantly baking. It brings me so much joy, and most of my desserts can be frozen. It's kind of nice also to have something a little sweet from time to time, and because as low-carbers, we have retrained our palates to be without sugar. Just a little bit goes a long way. Baking low-carb does require specialty ingredients that can be expensive and hard to find at local supermarkets. Another reason why you won't be eating them all the time. I like to buy most of my ingredients online through Amazon, Thrive Market, or directly from a manufacturer. Did you know that they have banana and pineapple extract? There are so many options that are not in your supermarket, but they help me get flavors that I miss, and they help me bridge that gap. I love a good pina colada popsicle, or maybe even a banana walnut muffin. I think most seasoned veterans and the medical community would agree that if a low-carb version of a dessert is going to help with long-term compliance with this lifestyle, then it can be a wonderful bridge from the standard American diet to a completely sugarless diet. It goes without saying also that the desserts are really pretty to look at, but I don't eat them every night. I made the mistake very early on in this journey, thinking that if a food was keto-friendly or low-carb, that I could eat it without care of quantity. Even if I was only eating to satiety, the carbs quietly crept up on me, and much to my surprise, my pants started to get tight. Instead of panicking, I took a step back to really assess what was going on and going in my mouth, and I realized that I had fallen into the trap. I call it the carb creep. Just because something is low carb does not make it a free food. Those are my popsicles, my strawberry cream popsicles. Nuts, dairy, and keto comfort foods all still have carbs. Don't get sucked into the trap just because it says keto friendly. It all adds up. Going out to eat can sometimes be a little tricky. But don't despair. I have a few steadfast rules that I like to use when I go to any restaurant. Number 1, skip the bread basket. You just tell that chip basket to walk on by. Doesn't need to even sit on your table. Number 2, restaurants are in the business to serve you. They want to make money and please you. Ask for what you want and don't ever feel like you have to go off the menu. Number 3, there is always an option. Every restaurant carries eggs, cheese, meats, and vegetables. From Denny's to a 5-star hotel, you get to tell them what you want. And last, very simply, meat plus fat plus vegetables will equal success. Remember, if you had a bad experience or they slipped sugar into a sauce, it's It's only one meal. Next time you will know better and you will do better. One of the greatest lines that sort of runs in a loop in my head, and I also hear on my favorite podcast. Anybody listen to LowCarbUSA podcast? Oh, you have to. Dr. Lenskis is here tonight. LowCarbUSA podcast. Their mantra, and the one that goes around in my head, is seek progress, not perfection. The consistent exploration of improving or tweaking my ways is a driver for me. If something is not working, it's time to explore what's off. If something is working, I ask myself how I can improve the process or streamline the procedure to make it an effortless habit. Something I hear frequently is that someone has gone keto for a full month and hasn't lost a pound, then only to inquire more deeply to find out that their favorite salad dressing is filled with hidden sugar, or that they're snacking on nuts all day. Another common mistake is loading up on fats when you actually have fat to lose. You don't need fat bombs or butter in your coffee all day when you have fat to lose. Let your body feed on the fat that you are storing. I get asked, oh, did I miss something? That's a common mistake. So I get asked almost on a daily basis to be hired to go into individuals' homes to cook for them, or to follow them around and help them tell them what to eat. And believe me when I tell you, I would love to be able to do that every single day, but there's only so much of me to go around. I have found most of my success from people that have owned their own journey. They commit to adopting new low-carb habits for themselves. They may not be a gourmet chef, but they try and try and try to be better every day. There are so many resources available. Some are free, others have a fee. This is an individual journey that you must own for yourself. Your health is your own responsibility, and I truly believe that health starts in the kitchen. Thank you. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer, or if you wanted to talk shop on cooking, I'm happy to open up the floor. Anybody? Yes?
I don't have a question, but I was going to suggest one of the things, like you do taco night. We have fajita night every once in a while, and I like the sashimi, the nori sheets. Use those.
Oh,
I like that saltiness, so that's a good option.
that's a great idea.
You know, I'll do the vegetables and the meat and the cheese and stuff, but you do it in the nori roll.
That's fantastic. I love that. I love that. Does any, yes?
Kellie, I was listening to you and I'm going, I wonder what she's going to say when you have to cook all the time and you need to make things easy. Is she going to mention the thing that my friend, who's the best darn cook that I know, uses religiously in her motorhome as she travels across the country for the last 3 years? And it was that Instant Pot. And she does everything she used to do in her fabulous kitchen in this little bitty kitchen. She said, I need a frying pan and the Instant Pot.
And it's a slow cooker too.
Well, and shoot, I have no patience for anything that's slow. So the fact is, we got one. We started cooking dog food with it.
Oh,
We do pulled pork. The dogs get pulled pork. We get pulled pork for our tacos, for our omelets, and we've told other dog owners about it to get their dogs on a healthier diet. Whether somebody's going to talk about that. But everybody who's got the Instant Pot has called back and said, oh, geez, I'm using it for this and that. So if you've been skeptical and thought it was just another slow cooker,
or if you are a little nervous, because I am a seasoned cook. I cook all the time, and I got it, and I was like, okay, how does this whole thing work? The first time I ever used it, I steamed a dozen eggs, or I steamed, I think, six eggs. And that was sort of the easiest way to dive into that. Like, what's the steam thing, and how do you make it so that it closes, and is it gonna explode on me? And the more you use it, and now it is so, easy, and I use it almost every single day. And did you know that the inside of the lid has a silicone rim, and when you cook very pungent things, like if you do a spiced chili or something, it starts to smell, you can actually pull that out and you can wash it in the dishwasher, but you can also buy extra ones of those. So if you're, because people cook cheesecake in it, they have a whole bunch of inserts, they make egg bites, they do a whole bunch of things with their Instant Pot. And so it's been a godsend for me.
Truly something for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So I'm just looking on Instagram, you're Kellie Logston.
Yes.
Okay, and then what is your group on, do you let anybody go to your group on Facebook?
Yes.
And what is the name of that group?
It's called Healthy Keto in the Kellie Kitchen.
Okay, thank you.
You can find me on any social media at The Kellie Kitchen, and if you search for any of that, it should pop up. And I have some cards here too. Any of the recipes or any of the resources, there are meal plans, there are blank ones, there is a quick start guide, there is a grocery list, I have a sheet that is the 50 names of sugar. I have a sheet that are quick swaps, if you need substitutions, or I have another sheet that is quick bites, like what do you do quickly on the go? Hard-boiled eggs, string cheese, salami, olives, and so all those recipes are on the website, and you can print them out in a full sheet. I like to laminate them for anybody that asks me for them, so that they always have them. And, yes.
I was reading a doctor that I follow on Instagram last week, and she quoted some story from Europe about how, according to that study, monk fruit and stevia have a similar insulin spike to sugars. And I've got to research it because she didn't give details about what study it was and whether there were other ones as well. But have you heard anything about that?
So actually, one of the sweeteners that I use almost exclusively is LowCarbUSA. That's the brand name, and it's a mix of monk fruit and erythritol. And I've tried them all: allulose, xylitol, erythritol, stevia. And when you're baking, you need the bulk of sugar, and stevia and monk fruit don't have those. Stevia and monk fruit are just like extract, just drops, or just like an eighth of a teaspoon for the same sweetness. So the bulk comes in the erythritol and the xylitol. Now, the studies that LowCarbUSA puts out, and they have someone that they followed around, they've had a whole group of people that they followed around with monitors, and they were testing them throughout the day, and they have shown that they didn't have any blood spike at all. Anything that I've really read, I haven't seen any sort of blood spikes. I do think that everyone is individual. Everyone has different, I eat carrots. I don't have a spike when I eat carrots, but carrots, most people don't eat that when they're eating low carb or keto. So, yes.
I just want to add to that because I'm also a type 2 diabetic, and there's a group that I help administer on Facebook. It can be very individual too. So I like to say, well, it's just that sweetness in your brain, it's the palate response to sweet taste, and blah, blah, and we all have different things. So like I know my personal sweeteners work for me. I have a G6, a Dexcom G6, so I'm really able to watch that blood sugar curve. But I used to test every 15 minutes after I ate something and figure out which ones work for me. So I think the individual thing, because we have people on there where I can eat a few carrots and fine, some people can't. I can't do Greek yogurt, but some people on there can.
Right.
Because for me, that spikes it, for them it doesn't. So I think part of the hard part sometimes is that there's not one definitive answer.
So everyone's individual. Yes. LowCarbUSA, LAKANTO. I should work for them.
Costco sells it.
Costco sells it. I buy it in 3-pound bags. Yes.
And also, have you come across a substitute for egg whites for someone who's allergic? I mean, so many things you can make.
I've seen like a powdered egg white substitute, but I've also read a lot about people using chia seeds, where they soak their chia seeds and they become gelatinous.
Yeah, they work
And then
really
that
well
could
for
be-
baking too.
Yes, they do really well. I don't know the details on that. I think they might add a splash of vinegar to that. I think the acidity with the chia seeds. Don't quote me on that, but I know that chia seeds can be a great either vegan or egg-free option. Yes?
So with my personal vocalization about how eating low carb has changed my life, I had a cousin approach me who has a pretty large family, and the thing that I continue to hear from a lot of people is, well, I have a lot of kids and like that's really complicated and I don't know how to do it, blah, blah, blah. And I don't have kids and I don't want kids, I have dogs, so I can relate, but I can't really relate in the same way. So I was curious like how you tend to like initially respond to that, to
Right.
other parents who are like stressed out about that, but also if there are any key resources for like family planning as well that you would
So the
recommend.
question was about feeding kids keto and family planning. So the keto diet started for kids with epilepsy. And so kids can do it. And I think that kind of taking from one of our other talks in there, how it is so incessant. The chicken fingers and the mac and cheese and the pizza, and it's so easy. They make it so easy for our families to get stuff on the table. And when your kids are hungry or crying or they need something fast, then that's sort of like the easiest thing. It has to be a family affair, and it has to, if she would like to eat that way with her children, there are so many options, but it's a monumental shift. And you know, my children aren't even 100%. I did have a win today. My children are with their father for the summer, and they eat a lot more carbs when they're not with me. And my daughter actually called me when I was on a break, and she said, "Mom, what's that cheeseburger salad recipe?" And I was like, "Go to the website." And she also asked for the cream of mushroom soup. So, you know, I think that my kids are older, so they can do that. But there are things that kids can eat that they would like that are not pizza, chicken nuggets, and mac and cheese. And if you serve them when they're hungry, they don't want it. I don't know, maybe this sounds harsh, but they'll eat breakfast the next morning. They don't get dinner that night if they're not going to eat it. So training their palates is also, it's so hard because the modern food industry makes it easy and
That's a
cheap.
great point.
Easy and cheap, and so baby steps. Anyone else? Thank you so much for coming. We'll have to do this again. Now let's go eat. Thanks, Kelly. I have some cards here. Here we go. Oh, thank you. Thanks for coming.